But the things that I am not is I'm not a steroid abuser, and I do not use steroids.
There may not be a bigger name in pro wrestling than the immortal Hulk Hogan. Hogan truly made pro wrestling what it is today, but although his contributions to wrestling can't be diminished, Hogan has been involved in a number of high-profile scandals throughout his career. Hogan certainly has his fair share of fans, but at the same time, his years of hurtful remarks and downright lies have made some fans resent the WWE Hall of Famer. Man, he's told some whoppers over the years.
I wrestled Andre the Giant with these boots on, and then a couple days later he passed on.
But which ones were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 of the biggest lies that Hulk Hogan has ever told. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists.
WrestleMania 30, right here in the Silverdome. I can't believe I'm the...
Number 10, he was supposed to be in The Wrestler. The 2008 movie The Wrestler was a commercial and critical success. Starring Mickey Rourke, the movie told a story of a struggling pro wrestler and his complicated relationship with his estranged daughter. When the movie was released, Hulk Hogan began to claim that the director of the movie, Darren Aronofsky, offered Hogan the lead role 3 different times. When Hogan initially said this, fans had their doubts.
What's that smell?
Hogan was a terrible actor, and it was unlikely that he would have been offered a movie of this magnitude. Embarrassingly for Hulk Hogan, it was later revealed by the director himself that Hogan was never contacted to be in the movie at all. Number 9, he noticed Kevin Owens' star power.
Because the champ is here!
Shortly after Kevin Owens' acclaimed feud with John Cena in 2015, Hulk Hogan did an interview with Radio Yorkshire, and in this interview he claimed that he was the first one to ever notice Owens' star power and potential. At this point, Owens had cemented himself as a top superstar in the WWE, and Owens, before his run in WWE, had been on the independents as a top name for over a decade. Hogan during the interview said, "Well, I hate to brag about it, but I'm the first one to point the finger at Kevin Owens. I saw him on NXT, like his second match, and saw him just chop and beat and grind and beating his guy down and doing it the old school way and really understanding how to get heat. Doing it the old school way, and I said, that's the guy. That's the guy. I don't care if he looks like a wrestler or looks like an ice cream salesman. I don't care. That's the guy." In this interview, Hogan would attempt to take credit for Owens' success. He tried to make a point that it was him who directed WWE to position Owens in a top spot in the company. Hogan's claims are truly laughable, and it's baffling that Hogan believed that anyone would actually buy into what he was saying. Number 8, he claimed The Undertaker damaged his neck. Now, the finish of the match between Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker at 1991 Survivor Series saw The Undertaker capture the WWE title for the first time.
Flair with a chair, a steel chair.
Taker would win the match by tombstoning Hogan right onto a chair. But according to Hogan, The Undertaker caused severe damage to his neck when the dead man performed a tombstone on him. The Undertaker actually believed that he had hurt Hogan with the move, which naturally impacted his confidence moving forward. When The Undertaker was rewatching the match back, he realized that Hogan's head had never hit the chair. This meant that Hogan had completely lied about the injury. The Undertaker would confront Hogan about this, and he would offer some lazy explanation into relation to the so-called injury.
He's like, "Well, brother, what it was you had me so tight that when we came down, I had nowhere to move. That's what jammed my neck, because I couldn't move at all."
It was clear that Hogan was lying in order to damage The Undertaker's position in the company, which would unfortunately be a common theme throughout Hogan's career. Number 7, the Make-A-Wish Lie. According to Hogan, back in 1992, he granted a Make-A-Wish for a sick child in the UK. Now, this sounds like an awesome thing for Hogan to do, but when the story was examined, it turned out to be a huge lie. Hogan claimed that he secured a sick child tickets to SummerSlam, which was taking place in London, England. Hogan revealed that the kid was a huge Hogan fan and he wanted to see him perform on the show in the main event. The thing is that Hogan was never at SummerSlam in '92, and even worse, he wasn't even in the UK at the time, meaning he could never have met the poor child. Hogan using this fabricated story to make himself look good goes to show just how low he will sink to make himself look like the hero of his own story. Number 6, Mike Tyson was scared of him. One of Hogan's most nonsensical lies relates to himself and Mike Tyson. Hogan claims that whilst he was in WCW, a pay-per-view match was going to take place between Hogan and Tyson. This would have been a huge success for WCW, as Tyson was one of the biggest stars in the world back in the 90s, and the WWE obtained great success when he was involved in their WrestleMania build in 1998.
They could charge $20 million for each TV set because everybody would want to see who's the real champion of the world, Hulk Hogan or Mike Tyson.
Hilariously, Hogan claims that the reason that this planned match didn't take place was because Tyson was scared of him. Yes, that's right, one of the toughest, most successful boxers of all time was scared of Hulk Hogan. Number 5, Elvis Presley was a huge fan of his work. Hogan's autobiography makes for an exciting read, especially if you want to delve into the somewhat fictional reality that Hogan lives in. In his book, Hogan recounts a time that Elvis Presley used to come and watch him wrestle back in Memphis in 1977. Interestingly, Hogan began to wrestle in 77, and it would be a number of years before Hogan would become even a household name. This claim from Hogan becomes laughable when you learn that Elvis passed away the same year that Hogan started wrestling. This meant that it was almost impossible for Elvis to become a fan of Hogan's work, and it's probable that Elvis had zero idea who Hogan even was. Number 4, he claimed he was asked to fight for the UFC.
Severn punching to the leg.
That's it.
That's it. Tremendous performance by Severn.
When the UFC first started, it was unclear if the promotion was going to be a success. Due to this uncertainty, Hogan claims that UFC reached out to him and they asked him to fight for the promotion. Hogan claims that he didn't join the now popular promotion because people get beat up when the fight should be stopped. Even though it was clear from Hogan's reasoning that he had virtually zero knowledge about the world of MMA, Hogan's UFC claims were ultimately ruled out when one of the co-founders of UFC, Campbell McLaren, took to Twitter to state that there was no truth whatsoever in Hogan's claims. This once again is another example of Hogan creating a fictional reality in his head, and it's rather frightening to think that Hogan may actually believe some of the things he's claiming. Number 3, he claimed he broke his ribs at WrestleMania 18 against The Rock. Hogan and The Rock colliding at WrestleMania 18 made for one of the most acclaimed WWE matches of all time. The match has managed to last the test of time, and it's certainly a highlight of both superstars' respective careers. When the match was over, it was clear that Hogan had seriously injured his ribs and he looked in serious pain. Hogan later revealed that he had broken his ribs when The Rock performed a rock bottom on him, and fans took Hogan's word on this, and seemingly so did The Rock. However, in reality, Hogan had already gone into WrestleMania 18 with broken ribs. He had broken them during a house show match against Rikishi, and for whatever reason, he wanted the people to believe that the match with The Rock caused him to break his ribs. This lie offers parallels to the time Hogan lied about The Undertaker injuring him, so it's clear that Hogan gets extremely insecure when performing against top names in the wrestling business. To make things worse, in later years, Hogan had publicly declared that he did in fact go into WrestleMania 18 with pre-existing broken ribs. Number 2, he claimed he came up with the idea of the NWO with different members. The NWO were one of the most influential stables to ever grace a wrestling ring, and according to Hogan, it was him who came up with the idea for the legendary group. This claim has been rebutted a number of times throughout the years, including by Hogan's real-life friend and former WCW president Eric Bischoff. It was actually Bischoff himself who came up with the concept, mainly thanks to inspiration from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Bischoff has always been open in discussing the fact that he used an idea he'd already seen for the stable, but Hogan claims that he wanted the NWO to feature himself, the Booty Man, and the Nasty Boys. Safe to say that if WCW went down this route, they would have lost the Monday Night Wars a lot quicker. And number 1, the WrestleMania 3 claims. WrestleMania 3 featured one of the most iconic moments in the history of wrestling. Hogan would body slam Andre the Giant in a truly memorable spot that virtually every wrestling fan knows about. But although the spot was truly magical, this hadn't stopped Hogan from lying about the specifics of the spot. The first lie Hogan has repeatedly told over the years is that he was the first person ever to slam Andre. This is untrue. Andre had been slammed a number of times prior to WrestleMania 3, including once by wrestling legend Harley Race. The Hulkster also claimed that Andre weighed around 600 pounds when he performed the slam. Andre was actually billed at 450 pounds for the match, and he was nowhere near 600 pounds.
He was 698 pounds. I ripped my whole back out. I got a hole in my back. I tore both of my biceps.
He also publicly stated that he tore every single muscle in his back, and although he was in complete agony, he continued wrestling and didn't miss a single scheduled show. But there you have it folks, 10 of the biggest lies Hulk Hogan has ever told. What do you guys think about his lies? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.